Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. We just got a first look at Jessica Jones, Daredevil Born Again. They're getting ready to film the series, so we'll break it all down because they are bringing back pretty much all the Netflix Defenders characters eventually. It's just that Jessica Jones is like one of the next big ones that they're introducing. If you're brand new to the channel, of course I'll be doing videos for all the episodes. They'll be filming the series for pretty much all of this year, so we'll get a bunch more footage from the series soon. We also have a big Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania trailer video for the movies that's going to be dropping really soon. I'll be doing videos for that too. But you may have seen your feeds blowing up the last couple of days because Krysten Ritter's Jessica Jones coming back to the MCU for Daredevil Born Again Season 1. You can see her wearing a Daredevil Born Again t-shirt here. The logo is the exact same as the new MCU version of the logo that Kevin Feige just debuted at D23 at the big Daredevil panel.
Aren't you supposed to talk about my show? Wait, your show? I think you mean my show. Ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Cox, Daredevil Born Again, coming to Disney Plus.
The funny thing about that is they were both there for the Echo panel for the Echo episodes, and they just stayed for the Daredevil Born Again episodes. I'll explain what's happening during Echo soon too, because there's a big Daredevil Kingpin storyline during that. But they were just joking about whose show Daredevil Born Again would be. Like, Daredevil is in the title, you'd think it's about him. So Charlie Cox is like, what are you talking about, my show? But obviously Vincent D'Onofrio just joking the Kingpin is going to believe that it's his show. It's all about him. The reason why you're seeing Krysten Ritter getting ready for Daredevil Born Again is because they start filming next month. Like I said, they're doing 18 episodes in Season 1, meaning they will be filming for pretty much the entire year. It was supposed to start releasing episodes at the beginning of 2024, but because they delayed Echo to the beginning of 2024, they might have pushed Daredevil Born Again just like a little bit after that. But you get the idea. It's coming right after the Echo episodes because that's the way the story is playing out. According to reports, Marvel also had a plan to bring Krysten Ritter back as Jessica Jones before this during the She-Hulk episodes. Which makes sense because her day job is a paralegal, so you'd expect her, Jennifer Walters, Matt Murdock to cross paths in the normal courses of their jobs outside of being vigilantes. It was the whole basis for Daredevil's cameo on She-Hulk. He was in LA as Matt Murdock first as a lawyer. They had a teaser while he was there for his new Daredevil suits as well too. Like, it turns out that he's getting his new suits from this person in LA now.
Luke Jacobson made a couple of new suits for me, so I owed him one.
Doesn't really look like it.
It's a low blow insulting a blind man's clothes.
The new suits that he references there are suits that he'll wear in the future on the Echo series and Daredevil Born Again. Like, there are a couple other suits that were made for him that we didn't see because we won't see them until Echo and Daredevil Born Again. All the new ones are meant to be versions of his comic book suits. Like, the yellow one was based on his very first red and yellow suit from his first comics appearance. That was why they had all the jokes about it on the series about it looking like ketchup and mustard. Like, why would you wear such clashing colors? Like, wouldn't you want to not stand out in the battle? He was wearing it because it was his first comic book suit, and obviously, like, a lot of the logic in those classic comics is really jokey.
Is that I couldn't figure out who it was, and I realized it was the new Daredevil suit, and they've incorporated the gold or the yellow from some of the earlier Daredevil comics.
He'll also have a version of his classic red suit reimagined, like a brand new version of the red suit, not the same one that he wore during Daredevil Netflix. He'll also have a version of his newer black suit, not the classic one from the Daredevil Netflix series, like the lo-fi black suit. The new one would be like the back in black costume, which is just a little bit different, like an upgraded black costume. He might have more suits than that, but those are just the ones that we know about right now. The story for Jessica Jones in the MCU probably hasn't changed that much, even though they've moved around some of the series and they got rid of her cameo scenes during She-Hulk. I believe the reason she wasn't on She-Hulk was because she was busy filming another series at the time and wasn't available to do those episodes. But during the Echo episodes, there's supposed to be a bunch of Daredevil and Kingpin because of Kingpin's relationship with Echo. He's meant to be one of the main villains of that series too, but in a much bigger way than he was during the Hawkeye series. Like, during Hawkeye, it was a pretty short cameo. And even though there was a little bit more of Daredevil during the She-Hulk episodes, that was still just a smaller cameo. There's supposed to be more of them, more scenes for them in the Echo series. And it'll be the first time that Daredevil and Kingpin are in the same series, like in the same production together in the MCU. Even though canonically they're treating the characters almost as the same versions from the Netflix series. They're picking and choosing what parts of the canon they bring forward from the Netflix series, but for the most part, the series is supposed to be canon. But according to Charlie Cox, they're reimagining some aspects from the show. So, like, not every single little thing is going to be something that they carry forward. Really good example, that's why the yellow suit on She-Hulk looked almost exactly the same as the classic red suit on the Netflix series, just to show you that most of that stuff was canon. During the Echo episodes, the story for Jessica Jones is supposed to be that she's missing and Daredevil's looking for her, aside from the main story of Echo versus Kingpin and Daredevil versus Kingpin going on. So while they're all busy in the background, Daredevil is still looking for Jessica Jones. The whole idea with Kingpin is that Echo didn't kill him at the end of Hawkeye, they just made it seem that way. This ending scene is just right out of the comics. Her backstory on the series is similar to the comics version. She's from the Daredevil comics, like a lot of the She-Hulk villains. Most of those smaller funny villains were either like Daredevil villains or Punisher villains, because they're bringing so many of the Netflix characters into the MCU in a much more proper way. Kingpin raised Echo to be his weapon, lied to her, saying that Daredevil killed her father so that she'd be more effective in trying to get rid of him for Kingpin. Then secretly, as we saw in Hawkeye, it was Kingpin who killed her father, betraying her. So they just did a version of that on the Hawkeye series. She shoots him in revenge the same way, but only winds up blinding him, and when he returns is meant to be this ironic twist because he's blind just like Daredevil for a little while, but eventually he gets his sight back. The whole thing with the Echo series is supposed to explore some special powers and mythology that they teased during her bedtime story with her father. Like, they talk about this crazy magic, the story that he tells her. Supposedly that's going to turn into like a real thing during the Echo series, and it'll be that stuff weaved with regular crime thriller because you have Daredevil Kingpin characters. Jessica Jones might have a cameo scene in Echo. I don't think she's supposed to, but it's always possible that they change some of that because they've shuffled the series around a little bit. There have been a couple of delays, I think because they want to polish some stuff. But he is supposed to find her during Daredevil Born Again, and she's a bigger part of the plot during that series, like the way that you would expect her when they say that she's going to be a big part of the series. The way that Charlie Cox talked about the episodes, he said that Daredevil Born Again would be just like the tone and the vibe of the Netflix series, but because they had so many extra episodes, they'd be doing way more courtroom scenes like you saw during Daredevil Season 2 when he was defending the Punisher, who will also probably come back in the MCU at some point. I know I mentioned the Punisher, people are like, when are they going to bring Frank Castle Punisher back? They're not going to recast the role, like Kevin Feige isn't planning on recasting Punisher, but I don't know if they have plans to use him during Daredevil Season 1. There are 18 episodes, so obviously there's like a lot of cameo spots they could use for people. The other Netflix Defenders characters said that they love to come back. It's just a question of availability and what room they have for them in the story, like what are they already doing? Like Luke Cage, Colleen Wing, even Finn Jones said that he wanted to come back as Iron Fist. You probably saw that recently too. Some news articles about Iron Fist wanting to prove people wrong that he would come back in the MCU. We'll see about that. I really wasn't a fan of what they did with the character, so I'm totally fine with them just waiting to use him for years or just completely recasting the Iron Fist role in the MCU. My actual MCU Iron Fist idea is for them to just do something completely separate with him and use him as one of the villains of the Shang-Chi series, because he's supposed to be a hero, but because Shang-Chi's people worship the great protector dragon in Ta Lo, and Iron Fist gets his powers from killing a cosmic dragon, they should just say that MCU Iron Fist winds up killing the great protector dragon as part of his origin story, instead of the concept of the capital cities of heaven, Kunlun, their celestial configuration, the tournament of heaven, and just say that they exist in the same alternate dimension that Ta Lo does. And they can use the Iron Fist mythology in the Tournament of Heaven to do a really badass Shang-Chi tournament arc for the character. Like classic Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon, which they kind of use as inspiration for some of the first Shang-Chi movie. Like, we all want to see Shang-Chi get a much cooler tournament arc. The Iron Fist Tournament of Heaven in the capital cities of heaven would be the way to do that. Then they can just fold Iron Fist into more ground level, Daredevil, street level stuff in the MCU. The bigger storyline they're supposed to be doing during Daredevil Born Again Season 1 is Mayor Kingpin. Like, the whole idea in Marvel Phase 5, just in general, through all the movies, all the series, is they're going with a very Dark Reign-inspired overarching story spinning out a secret invasion where the antagonists take control in positions of power. Thunderbolt Ross is supposed to become President of the United States around the same time, like in Captain America 4 New World Order, which is being released right around the same time that Daredevil Born Again is being released. Val's already become director of the CIA, now wielding enormous power which she's going to use to create the Thunderbolts, and it all spins out of what happens with the evil Skrulls in Secret Invasion, and the whole idea is that the villains, the antagonists, start taking credit for getting rid of them, and riding that wave of popularity to even greater political power. Kingpin's story is just localized to New York City, with him basically taking control of New York City, riding that wave, and turning it into something more akin to a police state, like doing really terrible stuff in the light of day, and people loving him for it because of what happened with the Skrulls. Like, look, see, if we're not this hardcore, then the Skrulls are going to take over the planet again. And Daredevil trying to be a hero amidst all of that, they kind of started to do that during Daredevil Season 3, where Kingpin took this position of power, like the public started to love him. He was kind of lying about what he was doing, though. Eventually, Daredevil won out by making people see him for what he really was. So they're kind of doing a larger version of that, like a much bigger version during Marvel Phase 5. But everyone, let me know in the comments, what do you want them to do with the other Netflix Defenders characters? It sounds like we'll see them in addition to Jessica Jones in the next few years. Like I said, there's a brand new Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania trailer video coming in the next couple of days. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Of course, I'll do videos for everything. Click here for that brand new trailer. I'll update the link as soon as I post that. And click here for my new Deadpool 3 Hugh Jackman versus Ryan Reynolds video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.